Hispanics are causing panic, baby. Let's do it.
We come out chased by hounds. Round and round we go, wearing a pinche rabbit's foot for luck, just ahead of the fucking hounds. ¿Qué hubo? ¡Ah! ¡Qué vida es! ¡Qué loca vida, home!
Como decimos en México, hay que dejarnos de mamadas. No hay que... Los cinturones aquí se hacen a un lado. Hay que pelear por honor y por gloria nada más.
I invite him into the ring, and like we say in Mexico, we don't fuck around. We don't fight for rings and stuff like that. I don't fear anyone.
En este deporte no se viene a jugar y no le tengo miedo a nadie.
We don't come to play in this sport. I fear no one in this sport.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
Como decimos en México, hay que dejarnos de mamadas.
We come out chased by hounds.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining me. D-Style Boxing, Chicano Prophet, and Chief Funky on archive. You're listening now live here on YouTube. And for those listening on demand on the Leave It in the Ring network, where it's iHeart, Pandora, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating, give us some feedback, constructive feedback, praise, you name it. Okay, give us those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and we appreciate everyone that tunes in. Shout out to Leave It in the Ring that was live yesterday on Monday, and also the Shoe Shine. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow on Uncensored. That's on Chief Funky Boxing on YouTube, and also The Roundtable, which is available on my channel here, or you can catch it on demand as well on the Leave It in the Ring network. All right. Now, speaking of Leave It in the Ring, we have a lot to talk about here. We're going to have Terri Moss, okay, a current trainer out in Georgia. Can't wait to talk to her, the trainer of, Aparicio, who we had, Abel Aparicio that we had last week. So we're going to talk to her. She left it all in the ring at one point. Now she's a trainer doing her thing. Garcia Fortuna, we already knew that the fight was going to happen, but now we have a date set. We're definitely going to touch on that. The weekend aftermath, man. What's the good? What's the bad? What's the ugly of the boxing weekend? Ebony Bridges, Shannon Corney as well. Do we include that or what? Shields. She wants to get paid that moolah against Sarah. Not Sarah, but anyway. Savannah Marshall, all right? So shout out to her, all right? We're going to talk about the bag in boxing, Askren versus Jake Paul, Prograis changing his mind about YouTube boxing, or boxers, I should say, right? And also the young guard of the welterweight division. We're going to touch on that, and you know exactly who and what I am talking about. Frank Yeager, shout out to you, brother. I appreciate that donation. Kill the BS narratives. Hashtag Canelo runs Dallas. That is now Chicano's favorite hashtag. Automatically. You know what I mean?
That's right.
All right. And A-Rod 83, saludos, brother. How are you doing? Sonteo Media already in the building. Hit that like button, especially listening on archive. Hit that bell button so you're notified every time D-Style Boxing comes on live. Let's get right to it. All right. Weekend aftermath. Let me give you my good. The good of the weekend. We had a full day of boxing on Saturday, right? A full day. And yes, some of it was counter programming, but that's a good problem to have. It's better than having no boxing, right? We saw Boots Ennis not only get in a step up, but pass it with flying colors and do it in spectacular fashion. We had, speaking of spectacular fashion, Ben, the dude speaks Spanish and then he whoops the dude that speaks Spanish. Just to I could speak Spanish and I could still whoop you, right? That's right, Vargas. Shout out to Toronto, by the way. All right. And Anakajas looked spectacular in his performance. That's the good for me. Full day of boxing. Can't go wrong with that. Hey, Chief Funky, talk to us, brother. What is the good of the weekend?
Well, for me, it's one thing, and it's because I've been pressing something since the beginning of the year, and I want to say that the good was Boots Ennis. You know, he looked very spectacular in there with Lipinets. That was his best opponent to date. Took care of business in impressive fashion, and like I said, since the beginning of the year, I've been pushing that I want to build these guys up, these young guys, so that they can get on that collision course and meet and have that big super mega fight that boxing needs, because Lord knows we need plenty of those, man, because we have not got a lot of those lately, man. Boxing has been just, you know, a lot of mediocre fights on pay-per-view. I believe that if they move guys like Virgil, Boots, even Ben, the way he looked this weekend, if we can move these guys in the right way, we could get some big fights down the line, man, because the welterweights ain't doing jack shit, man. Sick and tired of waiting on these dudes to do something. So I want nothing but the best for these young guns, man. So that was my good for the weekend.
There you go. There you go. Chicano, talk to us. What is the good of the weekend?
Well, I thought the good of the weekend was that this weekend boxing showed that there's a lot of opportunity in this sport for people who want to get ahead. I thought it was nice to see some workers who have been going for a long time fight for titles. We saw that multiple times this weekend, and I thought that was great to see. And I also liked that Boots Ennis was out there, a prospect turning into a contender, taking the opportunity to take a step-up fight against Sergey Lipinets and delivering, and is hungry and is young and is ready for other opportunities. So boxing is always moving, and I saw a lot of pieces move this weekend, and it was fun to see. And there were some entertaining fights and knockouts. So just an overall good weekend for me.
A shout out to Tracy Boxer Girl, you know, in the chat. Also, Sonteo Media and A-Rod, who's down with HCP? Well, that's the other good thing of the weekend, right? Because everyone's down with HCP. But let's talk about what we're not down with, all right? What was the bad of the weekend? To me, I'm just going to flat out tell you guys right now. The bad, we didn't get no announcement. Oh, no Fury, no AJ fight. No, nothing. All we got was, oh, yeah, we're looking at the sites. And, yeah, you know, we just have a lot of challenges. And but it'll be announced any moment now. You know, anytime now. Oh, don't worry. It's going to happen. Okay, just wait. Okay? All right? Well, we're closer today than we were yesterday. All right? Whatever that means. G Funky, what is the bad of the weekend for you?
Man, this could be the bad of the weekend, any weekend, but I'm just going to say now, because I'm getting sick and tired of hearing this all the time in boxing. It's the fans that are always whining and crying about fighters being robbed when there's no robbery, man. Like, can we stop this already? Like, this is getting annoying, man. Like, anytime your favorite fighter doesn't win or the guy who you pick doesn't win, it's an automatic robbery. Like, I didn't think that the Smith-Vlasov fight was a robbery. I thought that was a close fight, you know? And anytime a fight is close and competitive, you can't call it a robbery. You just can't, man. So I'm just sick and tired of it, man. It's becoming a normal thing now, and we got to stop it, man. It's embarrassing.
Hey, but Chief Funky, it's a robbery, though. It's a robbery. Why'd they rob him, though? Why'd they rob? Hey, officer, there's a robbery. Come arrest them. It's a robbery.
I'll tell you this, man. I've heard that term so many times in this young year. Look, we're only in April. I've heard it so many times now. I mean, you would think that Bonnie and Clyde are running boxing. They're just going around robbing banks and stuff, like robbery here, robbery there. You know, like, this is crazy stuff, man. I'm just sick and tired of hearing it, man.
Hey, talk to us, Chicano. What is the bad of the week? Other than old Canelo didn't fight this week. Other than that, he can't fight every weekend, okay? He's human. He's not a machine. He's active, but not every week now. You know what I mean?
You're right. All right. Well, otherwise, besides that, put me in a bad mood. But I have to say the bad of the week was Stitch Duran being interviewed during the Joe Smith-Vlasov fight. Now, this pissed me off. Now, you guys know it's a personal gripe, okay? I can't help myself.
Wow.
And Stitch Duran has been attention-seeking for so long that now they seek him, the famous Cutman, as they refer to him. And they go to him in the corner like, oh, he had a cut. What'd you do? Well, I worked on the cut. No shit. You're a cut man. That's what you do. I don't think he deserves to be special. I think he needs to take a back seat like the rest of the Cutmen. So that was my personal bet for the week.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna touch on the ugly of the weekend in a little bit, but let's get our first guest of the evening here, the one and the only Terri Moss. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. I love that. That's the real thing, though, right? It's not a green screen.
This is the real thing.
Man, look at that. That's a great background right there.
I know, right? It's not even like Zoom added.
Wow. That's great. I need that background. I'm gonna get a green screen for it. Just
right. There it is.
There you go.
Oh, with the guns too. Look at that.
There they are.
Yeah.
We just got training. I'm just got done training tonight, so thought I'd give you a nice background. The big, beautiful gym we have.
Absolutely. We definitely appreciate you coming on, taking your time to talk to us. We've had Abel Aparicio on twice now.
Right.
And from my understanding, you are his trainer, correct?
Right. He's been with me since his first punch. I trained his brother first, and then I trained him, and it's been quite an exciting climb, just, watching him grow and bringing him to where he's at now. It's been like in the plan the whole time, but now to actually start seeing it coming into fruition, it's a nice thing.
Okay. Do you feel he's catching up? Because, I do see he's 31 years old. Is he catching up to where he needs to be at the moment?
Well, you guys are talking to the wrong person because I went pro at 36. So.
36, yeah.
Yeah, my story, you have to dig that one up. But he did start late. I think it was 24 the first time he walked in the boxing gym. So, we had to, make some adjustments. He was planning on being a pro soccer player. So he's a very good soccer player. But he said, like he was 19 years old and they told him he was too old. So I don't know what that meant, but he played soccer, and then he played like a minor league for a long time. And then when his brother started boxing and doing some training with me, he talked to Bell into coming in, and he said, okay, I'll try this. So he's been there since.
Okay. All right. Now, you didn't mention it. 30. That was actually one of my questions about starting boxing at 36. What prompted you to, at age 36, to say, I want to box? Because it's not, this is one of the most brutal sports in the world. Now, not something a 36-year-old just says,
right.
Hey.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. It was an accident.
Was it an accident?
Totally
was it like you doing it as a workout?
Yeah,
and it just kind of evolved?
I was I'm a little bit older than you guys, not too much though. But I would tell people when Olivia Newton-John was getting physical, so was I. So back when the leg warmers and the bodysuits were in the gym, I was doing that. So I did all the things, and then it was kind of like the next level of workout. Triathlons were becoming popular about that time, or at least something that were more in the general public. So I was training like for my first half triathlon. I was actually in law enforcement at the time, and I was a bicycle cop. So I rode, 8 hours, 12 hours a day sometimes. So I was strong with that. And then I do running, swimming, all that stuff. So I had a friend that, saw that J-Lo movie called Enough, where she beats up her boyfriend who was abusive, after she took some boxing classes, and apparently she had a husband that she wanted to beat up. She's like, I'm gonna go to this boxing gym. We were on our way to aerobics class. And she was like, you need to go. I'm like, oh, you're crazy. I would never do boxing. So anyway, we stopped into this gym and we wound up working out there instead of going to the class. And, 3 months later, she was gone and I was going to fights all over the country. It was over.
Well, I gotta give you some major credit, because I'm getting ready to be 37 next week. Let me tell you, I can barely get out of bed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine being that old and then getting in the gym every day. It's crazy.
Right,
so
right.
much credit to you.
Well,
I'm telling you, I did love working out, and I was really active anyway. So, but I don't know what I was thinking. I would never tell anybody. But back then, women's boxing was different. I boxed when Christy Martin and all those guys were boxing, and there were hardly no women in the amateurs. And now they have like masters division stuff, where people can be a little bit older and train, that kind of thing. But back then there was really no masters division. So I tried to get a few amateur fights and just went right in the pros so I could get fights. And a lot of women, back then went straight into the pros. And one of the reasons that people complained that women's boxing was so sloppy is because we just didn't have experience. There were no fighters. You'd fight like 4 or 5 weight classes, which I did. We all did that. But back then it was kind of like MMA. You just took whatever you could get just to get in the ring. And I mean, quite frankly, the boxing public was like, just sit with your hands in your lap and say, thank you for letting me box. I mean, we didn't make no money. We didn't do nothing. It was but, definitely we were there for the heart. So, whatever it takes, that's what we did.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now,
what's going on? Oh, it's backwards. That's it.
I've been looking at the background. I'm looking at one thing I kind of see nowadays, because you mentioned the sport twice already, MMA. One thing I'm kind of used to seeing, which as a boxing fan, that I'm like a purist, I don't like seeing those cages in the gym. But is there a cage there somewhere, or is that purely a boxing gym?
We don't do kickboxing. We're just straight boxing, So, we're a big gym. We're almost 15,000 square foot. We've got 2 full-size rings. We've got an Olympic ring behind me, the smallest Olympic ring. And then across, I'm looking at another ring right here that's a competition, size ring. So we've held Golden Gloves. I did an Olympic level duel here, U.S. versus China in 2015, and Clarissa Shields fought here, Michaela Mayer fought here, Marlon Esparza fought here, all those guys. Branshaw and Cruz, they were on the same Olympic, they were on the same national team, and we did a national competition here, U.S. versus China, for the women's team. That was fun. So we've done all kind of shows here, but I've also done a lot of promoting outside of the gym. So it's been both ways. I can't get over this shirt. There we go. So I have to look at it backwards.
Yeah. Bulkhead Fight Club, right? There you go. Yeah, it doesn't look backward on our end, but
right. Yeah, and I opened the gym. It's 2013. So it's a big gym. We're the biggest gym in Atlanta, and we're busy. We're big. We're fun. It's definitely, some call it the money gym, some call it the party gym, but we definitely enjoy what we do, and we host some really good events here. And it was built by like literally 3 women built the gym, and now it's I've actually got 2 new partners that we've all gone into business together on this gym, and we've got 11,000 square foot we're building out on the back side of the gym. So altogether, it's like 25,000 square foot. It's a big facility, but we have pool tables. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, there you go.
But so we, it's a big, big stroke for the women that, in boxing that, are making a difference. And, hey, it's a good time for us.
It is a lot of women definitely getting a lot of attention right now, right? But speaking of women getting attention, there was a fight. It was controversial in a sense. People were wondering if it's the right type of attention or not. And it was the 2 blondes. The blonde bomber. Ebony Bridges against Shannon Courtney,
right?
And Courtney had some things to say about Ebony, about the lingerie at the weigh-in and stuff like that. And some people were saying, what's the big deal? What is your thought? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. Well, this is probably not something I should say, but I mean, lingerie, or I've seen a lot of thongs at the weigh-in, those kind of things. I never dressed like that, but I was always trying to prove myself as an athlete. But it did the thing. Mia St. John posed in Playboy, Regina Homage. As what's her name? The little Mexican girl. They call her Barbie. I can't remember her name now. I'm a little out of touch.
Barbie,
but there've been quite a lot, of women that have kind of used that angle to bring attention to themselves. But certain kind of behaviors at fights are, to me, unacceptable. I hate to say this, but we just had a female fight here, and the girl twerked in the ring after her win, and it was the most embarrassing thing out of everybody. Was like, oh, that's too far. It was not cool. It just belittles everything that women fighters are trying to do. I mean, it was a whole show of like a stripper, and that it's one thing to dress a certain way at the weigh-in, but that's not a cool thing to do. Bottom line.
Wow.
Like whoever you are as a fighter, just got discredited with about 80% of the people, when you did that, especially when I know that, she fought like a 0-6 girl. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
is Mariana Juarez.
If you dressing a certain way at the weigh-in, it's one thing to it's marketing. I mean, I like seeing Canelo without a shirt, but that's what you do. So I can understand that, but there's certain behaviors that are really just over the line that shouldn't be done. That's one of them. I've never seen anything like that until this past weekend, and I was mortified.
Right.
Yeah.
So you think it just devalues
any woman athlete? I mean, it doesn't matter if you play soccer or basketball. It's too hard of a road that people like me have paved sucking it up to have that crap go on, so I agree, but I don't care what you wear at the weigh-in. I mean, sometimes they're naked. So, I've seen that too, where, men have had to take everything off. I've seen women do it right in front of everybody, it just depends on the woman, but, the weigh-in is one thing, but, in the ring, the presentation, all that's another story.
Well, I guess why you're naked matters, right? If you're naked because,
because
you
you're overweight.
More, right.
Or
if you're stripping, that's a little different, but.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Well, how do you
do it in a classy way, but or in a good marketing way, but tasteless is tasteless no matter what. And for those women that have been out there paving the way for hard-earned respect in the sport, it's I mean, I do a lot of things that I'm embarrassed about later, but I definitely draw the line in certain places, most it's my temper for me.
Right,
so,
exactly.
but, I train a lot of men, and to be a woman in a boxing business is training men that are fighters and, running a boxing gym, you've got to have a strong backbone and be able to deal with that, with all levels of, whatever may come up. You got to be able to keep a level head and, and be able to handle that. So, it's as a woman and in a boxing gym, sometimes I get guys come through that they think, oh, I can get something done in there, but they get stopped at the doors. They learn to definitely respect the situation. So, but and not that I'm I'm not somebody that's like I got to prove myself. I'm totally not like that. I respect men as men. What I'm saying, they don't have to be power under me. That's not something I would approve of. They're men. I'm just the trainer. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Terri, was a really cool start to your story. And it kind of sounds like you were off to the races right away. And so I just wanted to ask you, once you got into the gym, when did you start realizing that you could do this? I mean, were you naturally a scrapper beforehand, or did a trainer say, hey, you have real potential, let's get this going? What was your train of thought as you turned professional?
No, none of that happened. It's just a stubborn will. That's what that is, and somebody just doesn't care. So, it's like I said, women's boxing was definitely not, in fact, the first fight I ever saw was Holyfield Tyson 1. I mean, and then, I remember Muhammad Ali when I was a kid, but to me, I was just a little kid watching boxing. It didn't, I thought everybody was watching it. It was like watching any other sport, I was not interested. But, I was always interested in athletics, even when I was young, like grade school. But I never did any other sport. I don't know. I guess I wasn't really raised in a way to have that kind of drive. It was a different environment. So I kind of grew up in the hood a little bit. So I kind of had to find my way. But, I did that. But yeah, I just had a really stubborn will about, I don't care. I don't care, what people say. I don't care if they laugh. I don't care. I mean, the hardest problem I had was finding a trainer willing to train me. So I just had to be sure to pay for that because they weren't making any money on women fighters at that point. Maybe some now, they weren't getting any glory because women, couldn't fight very well because there was so few and little competition. I mean, my first year of fighting professionally, my first fight was somebody that just won a intercontinental title. And my trainer's like, just tell the commission you had 10 Muay Thai fights. So I didn't know how to fight a lick, but I went in there. But, I lasted the fight and I swore I'd never do it again. And a week later I was back in the gym, and then the next fight is like a women's world champion amateur, ranked number 1 in the world at flyweight. And, I made it through that fight as I was 0-3. And then my next fight was somebody ranked number 4 at like 108. So, then I'm creeping down the weight classes and trying to find my way. And I wound up at 102, which is where I belonged. And I fought my 4th fight. The girl was ranked number 1 in the world. And I fought her and beat her. Well, I had my mind made up I was going to beat her because she was what I thought was small. But then, I realized when we got in the ring, we were the same size. But yeah, it was definitely not the kind of thing that people were encouraging me to do, and nobody saw talent. I mean, I had talent. I know that now as a trainer that I had a lot of athletic talent and ability, but if I had it, nobody would have told me. They just, I was too old and I was a female and there was no money, and, talent was regardless, didn't matter. So
you had a lot of,
I fought for 5 world titles. I only fought for 6 years, and I became world champion. I had a continental title. I got a few other little belts, and then I got inducted in the Hall of Fame right beside Layla Ali and Ann Wolfe. So, I can't complain. I set a Guinness World Record for the oldest female world champion. It was me and George Foreman till Bernard Hopkins beat his record. So I was in good company. Wow. So even though, there wasn't, I mean, the difference is back then the weight classes were shallow. There were not, especially at 102 pounds, there were, maybe 120 girls in the whole world that fought that weight. So, wow. But it was crazy. It was fun though.
Nice.
Do you feel like, because right now, ever since the women, I mean, I think since 2012 that they have the Olympics now, so there's something that little girls can actually look forward to, or have a reason anyway to get into boxing around the world. Do you think that's helped women's boxing a lot? Because like for me, I'm seeing a lot of these women come out of the amateurs extremely talented.
Right.
I see Estrada looks really, really talented to me.
Because now there are amateurs for women. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
One of the largest growing weight classes in age groups are like the 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. I mean, that's a big thing now. Those girls are coming up. I mean, they have a fair chance to make a good living and to be on the big stage and, the Olympic stage. And it's definitely, what's crazy is they took women's wrestling out on the last Olympics. They took women's wrestling out for like, I couldn't believe that. Like, there was a really nice wrestling match, like an American girl that beat this. I think she was Japanese. That won like 3 Olympics. Anyway, I just can't believe they did that with the rise of MMA and women's boxing and all that. They just took women's wrestling out of the Olympics. But needless to say, that's my ADD. But yeah, I mean, having that opportunity changes everything, because now there are scouts out there. They're going to be looking at you. You've got a chance for sponsors. I know that. The girls made some money and, with sponsorships during the Olympics here in 2012, there was a lot going on with that. So, it's a chance to get out there. And now, you've got Michaela Mayer. She signed with Top Rank, as Marlon Esparza's with De La Hoya, Clarissa Shields. I'm not sure who she signed with, but I know that she's fighting a few different cards. She was with Showtime, but I don't know what they're doing right now. But at least there's an opportunity there now to get on a big stage. CES has it's. I mean, you got DAZN, you got Katie Taylor, who's amazing. She's actually my favorite right now. Just everything about her. Her integrity. She's a professional soccer player. She's a 2-time Olympian, a gold medalist. She's world champion. I mean, I watched her coming up through the amateurs and always really liked her a lot too. And her work ethic is pretty amazing. So. It's nice to see. But if she was to see the twerking in the ring, she would probably be disgusted.
Right.
Even
a question I want to ask you, because the one thing, and I always get a different answer. Anytime I ask a female fighter or former fighter, it doesn't really matter. I always get a different answer. So I'm curious to know what you say. Well, what do you make of the 2-minute rounds and 10 rounds? A lot of people make the argument that, women should fight the same as the men. 3 rounds, 12 rounds for championship fights, or 3 minutes and 12 rounds for championship fights. What's your opinion about that?
So in the past, I feel like it was better, not because the women couldn't make it through the rounds. We trained 3-minute rounds anyway. You know what I'm saying? It was just a matter of making the fights busier and more exciting when there was a lot less skill on the table. So to me, that was a good thing. It made it move a little quicker. In a 2-minute round, you can throw a lot more punches. There was always, and people would say always, oh, the women's fight was the best fight of the night. You guys have probably heard that before. It's more action. It's because there's less time, per round. You got to get in there and get it done. So I think that was probably necessary back when I was fighting. But now, I mean, you definitely could go to the 3 minutes, and the women are skilled. They're talented. They have experience. There is room now to go beyond that. So I think it's just a matter of getting, quite frankly, some people's head out of the sand, about, just having a woman athlete. And as far as women's boxing is concerned, the United States is one of the slowest countries to move for the longest time, even now. So they pay less, they provide less, they're treated with less dignity and respect. And, that's, you see a lot different look if you go to Europe, or if you go to Brazil, or if you go to, a lot of places in Central America and Mexico. It's a different ballgame.
Okay,
yeah.
No, most definitely. Do you believe, like, besides the fact that if they were to fight, we will, more skillful fighters will be able to, and I guess be able to, do what they need to do in the ring. Do you believe knockouts would increase as well?
I think that I don't think women's boxing has a lack of knockouts because the shorter rounds are happening. I mean, maybe there would be more, but I think it's more around the development of the fighter. It's if you're a boxing person, that has nothing to do with power. So to attribute, say, women can't knock each other out because they don't have the power, doesn't even make sense, because knockouts come from timing, the punch they didn't see, the angle that you take, it has nothing to do with power. So, I could, 12-year-old kid could knock me out. Well, they're kind of strong anyway. Stay away from 12-year-old boys if you're a lady. They have no respect. Kick your butt. But yeah, so it's really, knockouts come from skill. They don't come from power. You can beat somebody to death and not knock them out. But it's going to be that time punch they didn't see in the right angle on the right place. That's the one. So it's really a matter of skill to me. So I think that as the skill gets better, but also for the most part, women are taking still a little tougher fights. And let's face it, guys, fights aren't what they used to be. Everybody's an Instagram champion. Everybody's got an undefeated.
Yeah.
They're undefeated till they're like 10-0 or something. They got to take a real fight, and then they're on the ground. They get 1 or 2 losses and they quit. It's almost like, isn't that what the amateurs are for? To just get past novice and then go to amateur. And once get past novice, go open, and once you're open, you can be like, okay, this is real now. But see, you find guys doing that in the pros, which is crazy to me. It's literally reminding me of the amateurs. I'm like, you should already be past this. So, I like I said, I think maybe they're taking a little bit tougher fights, some of them, but you still get the 0-6, But,
shout out to Christy Martin. I asked her the same question, and she said, "Well, I knocked out 32 women, so it can't be that." So,
well, there you go.
Yeah,
you're right about the evenness. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up the Instagram and social media stuff, because from my understanding, you handle contracts too for fighters, right? Or you've made fights.
I manage a couple guys, and I promote some. We got the Muhammad Ali Act, so I'm careful not to promote who I manage. You know what I'm saying? But
you're an advisor.
I really only. Well, I got one guy I'm looking at right now that I don't train, but for the most part, I only manage my own guys that I train. I had one that was really good. I sold his contract to another manager, and then we've got a few different things going on. But I've been doing a lot of shows with a lot of promoters, but with my partners now, we just this week formed a new promotional company, so we're going to be doing our own shows, and from there we'll build our fighters there. Right now I'm taking them on the road, so but yeah, dude, handle contracts, training, all that.
So I want you to do us a favor, because today's boxing fan, at least the young boxing fans who follow the social media crap, they think it's just the easiest thing in the world to make a fight between two fighters, especially fighters that are at the top, So can you explain to the fans?
What's his name?
Yeah.
RuPaul. What's his name?
Talk about him.
Yeah,
what the bad thing is, I saw the first fight. He looks like he could actually maybe learn to be a fighter if he wasn't, doing it like this. But when I'm in Atlanta, we've got the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's an amazing, self-sustaining planet. It's such an amazing facility, and they've got this guy fighting there this coming weekend. I can't even believe it. I'm like, who? But these aren't boxing fans. They're YouTube people going, nobody in boxing goes to those fights. So it's like, that just goes to show how crazy it is right now. I guess, I don't want to really think that deeply about it, because then it hurts my feelings about what's going to happen to boxing if this is where we're going. If this is where sports are going to, where it's just really about a fake identity of, is this really what it's going to be? It's a sad thought to me, but, we're the real fight fans. Boxing people kind of need to stand up and say, we're not going to support that. But, it's not boxing people supporting that. So, packing a stadium, a magnificent stadium where, pro soccer and the Atlanta Falcons play. Why is this guy there? He should be fighting in my gym.
Yeah. If he helps to know that fight may not even happen.
Yeah. That'd be right. Because I have an amateur show this weekend anyway. So
they were talking about yesterday that now the Paul brother Jake, he might be facing some sexual assault.
I heard of it. I saw it on my news.
So they're questioning whether the fight's even going to happen or not. So, go ahead,
well, that's what happens when you're famous. I hate to say it, but when you get to that level of fame, who knows what's going to happen? Look, you got to look at kind of what happened to Mike Tyson. I don't have anything to say about that one way or the other, but I'm going to say that, when you get to that level, things come out of the woodwork,
Things can happen,
so
exactly.
It's a thing, it's a thing. It's real.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about making fights. Could you explain to the fans how difficult that is to do? It's not just the easiest thing like fans think it is,
It is the worst part of any promotion, no doubt about it. The worst.
Let me add to that. Can
Yeah.
a fighter, like if a fighter tweets at another fighter, I want to fight you, does that make it official? I know that sounds ridiculous, but fans think that.
Maybe in their mind.
Right.
I guess the fight's on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, but the fight is not in the ring. So that's a whole nother ball game. You know, I mean, you can, even as a trainer or as a manager, and if one of my guys says, I want to fight him, just tonight, I had a couple of guys sparring in the ring, one of them kind of teed off on the other guy. And he's like, one more round. I'm like, no more rounds. Sometimes it's a matter of, you can't let them go off the emotion. It's got to be where in pro boxing, as we know, it's got to be money and contracts and rights and sponsors. And, there's 1,000 things that go with making a fight, even on a low level. And you got 10 guys, one thing, it takes a lot of work to put a fight together. And especially on the, on the big fights, it's just you're lucky if it ever makes it to the ring. It's like a pregnancy. It's so rare of a chance that you get pregnant. It's just shocking that anybody ever does. But it's the same thing with the fight. I mean, it's just amazing to even make it to the ring with every single fight. There's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many things you have to negotiate. And then do they actually get there? Do they something happens at COVID test? It's just no telling. All the weight can be wrong. It's 1,000 things that can happen that, that just seem like they would be simple. You be on weight, be well, get your medicals done, do your things, but, it just doesn't happen like that. So, still there are problems.
You mentioned that, boxing isn't what it used to be. And I agree. What attracted me to the sport as a young kid was seeing these warriors in the ring.
Right.
That's what it was. I saw them as warriors. I saw them as modern day gladiators, because it's a gladiatorial sport. That's what attracted me to the sport, right? But now they're not talking about fighting. They're not talking about wanting to achieve great things and I want to defend my belt this many times. I want to break this record, or I want to become this or that. All we hear about now is, I'm going to get that bag. I'm going to get that money. I'm going to get this. And to me, while I understand, fighters have always gotten the bag because they're prize fighters, right? But I just think like it's turning fight fans off, when all they do is talk about money, right? And also, and I just think, for me personally, it's kind of like what Michael Jordan said about a lot of basketball players that get sponsorships before they prove anything. And he said, before I got my big sponsorship, I had to prove myself in the court, and then I got my sponsorship. Now they get sponsorships based on potential, not on what they've actually done. And I feel that we're doing that in boxing. These guys are being given $2 million paydays before they fight anybody. I can't blame the boxer if he doesn't want to fight a killer for $2 million when he can make the same fighting a nobody.
Right. I just had this conversation with somebody. It's funny you mentioned that. I was saying, I think it turned over right about time Muhammad Ali and George Foreman and all that stuff. That's when money started being an issue early. And those big global fights, the first $1 million paycheck was, Don King set that up. I mean, and those guys earned that back then. That was, I think, of course it was earned. This was Muhammad Ali. But I think what happened is, in this era where everything is fake, it's not, this virtual reality and everybody's on their phone. I mean, the thing is this is where their life is, and they think, on the phone, it's not interacting with people. So, it's an interesting thing, but that's why it's about the money, and the money's really only about the show. What is the money? Do they want cash in their pocket? They want some paper in their hand? No, they want to have some image that they can post on social media, to have a certain look. And it's all about these, it's a deep conversation for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely ruined. But this is why you find it more in the States. I mean, like, you don't see it as much. I mean, Anthony Joshua talks a little bit about it, but they had this thing when he got his first world title and went bought his trainer a car, a Mercedes or something. But I don't know. And it's more focalized in the States. You don't hear a lot of Mexican fighters in Mexico talking about the money. I mean, they maybe talk about it some, but it's, you don't hear the Canadians, or, what I'm saying? I mean, some guys, yeah, but in general, that's an American problem, and it's part of the way that we live here is so focused on image and more than even money. I mean, if the money can bring you the image, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's happened to boxing. And, you know, in MMA, those guys act like it don't affect them, but let's talk about Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? He tasted a world he didn't know existed when he fought Floyd Mayweather. And he's like, I want more. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just an addictive. It's just a, you know, it's a problem that goes well beyond boxing. It's a you know, a socioeconomic, it's a psychological problem. It's a lot of things, you know, that cause that, but it's definitely affecting boxing. I agree with you on that. I mean, maybe don't pay anybody and then they'll fight everybody.
Well, look,
you know,
I don't think all is lost. I mean, we had.
I don't either. No, it's not all lost. Yeah.
Look, we had a young Teofimo Lopez that said, "Hey, I want Lomachenko."
Right.
You know what I mean? And it took a pay cut in a pandemic to do it because they knew the upside. They knew if I beat this guy, then the paydays come. And then I think the greatest example, when you said you don't really hear Mexican fighters talk about that. Look, I'm sure Canelo negotiates his contracts behind the scenes and doesn't throw it on everybody's face, but he's the highest paid boxer in the world. He doesn't talk about it.
Ever, yeah. And you know, I mean, a lot of it with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, he kind of started that image in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Floyd Money Mayweather. I mean, I think maybe everybody's trying to mimic him. You know, a lot of guys, you know, he's definitely their idol. And Floyd Mayweather, from the time he was coming up in the amateurs, you know, I mean, you know, he fought in the Olympics here in Atlanta, and one of his teammates is actually a trainer in my gym, Zaire Rahim. He was on the team, him and Rocky Juarez and some of those guys in '96. But you know, when he was an amateur, he was hungry. But then later came the money, you know, and he just he did it. I think as like a, you know, it was a marketing tool. You know what I'm saying? It was a niche that he found to, you know, build up his persona. But just I think maybe a lot of young people took it. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like they do the music. I mean, trust me, those rappers out there are not gangsters. Most of them live in the suburbs, you know, went to college. You know what I'm saying? They that's what we see here in Atlanta, you know, but they're talking about living on the street and they've never been there. So, I mean, you just see a lot. But, you know, Floyd maybe brought that out. They want to be him, and I can't blame him. I wish I was him.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Like Floyd was, the old saying is, now it is, he was pretty boy before he was Money Mayweather. Right. Like he wasn't getting those huge paydays when he had to get in the ring with Diego Corrales, you know. Right.
And those were the crazy fights. Yeah. It's true. I mean, I think I don't know. I don't have all the answers. It's a thing though. It definitely has changed the dynamic of boxing, and you know, the same with MMA. Right now, they don't care if they lose fights. That'll change, you know, a little bit. I mean. The Ronda Rousey thing was pretty interesting to me. I mean, little did people know that she made $3 million for that Holly Holm fight, and Holly Holm made like $800,000.
Wow.
That was on the level for MMA. That was the biggest grossing pay-per-view fight that MMA had ever had. And, you know, Dana White didn't want to promote any women fighters, but he did choose her, which was great. She had a great look. You know, she just had all the tools, but maybe not the background. You know, Holly, but they misunderstood that Holly was like a 5-time kickboxing world champion and an 8-time boxing world champion. But Ronda Rousey was, you know, maybe a 2-time gold medalist in jiu-jitsu, I guess it was. Yeah.
Judo.
So, I mean,
Judo.
You know, I already knew he was going to win that fight. But I mean, that's the thing is like sometimes I'm willing to take the fight right now, but we'll see if the money affects them later. Maybe they'll keep it true, you know. Hopefully it'll come back. I mean, that's the thing is that in boxing, there's always a new champion coming along that's going to, you know, steal everybody's heart.
We got young lions right now.
Right.
A lot of very talented young lions right now in the sport, and they're ready and they're hungry.
Right.
I mean, we got
these guys are getting a lot of amateur fights, so they're coming with it. And I think too, maybe we've been talking about this conversation for long enough where they take notice, you know, because this isn't a new conversation. It's been going on probably 7 or 8 years, you know, that I've really been listening. But, you know, I remember when I started boxing, they were real, you know, good fights, you know, Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward, you know, those were good fights, you know. So now, I mean, maybe they're hearing the voice, you know, we'll see what happens.
Talk to us about some of the fighters you're training and promoting right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got some really good amateurs in my stable right now that are really promising. So we'll see what happens with them. For the pros, I've got some that just left and some that are, you know, just now coming around. I've got, of course, Abel, and then his brother, we're getting close to turning him pro, but he's over in Mexico. His name is David Aparicio, and Abel is Abel Aparicio. So he's waiting for me now to make a move on him. So I got both of those guys. There's a fighter here in Atlanta that I'm getting ready to work with named Ben Gravitt. He had about 200 amateur fights, but his career in boxing now is like 3-2, so he's got some really bad management right now. Might get trouble for saying that. But I'm trying to work with him now, so we'll see what happens. But he would be a real for somebody that can really do something. He's ballsy. He'll fight anybody. He just doesn't care. So he's got a lot of experience. And then I've got a couple other guys that I'm looking at that are actually still under contract, so I can't really talk about that. Okay. But we're working toward that. So, but yeah, working it out. We're looking. They're quite, a couple guys. So I don't want too many in the pros. They're expensive.
They're expensive, yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah. I also, I believe I read up that you're also a cut woman. Like you could do some Cutman work.
Oh yeah, I did that first. Actually, I did that. That's the first thing I learned in boxing. So when I the coach that I had, he's passed away now, but he was Chuck Bodak's biggest fan, and he looked just like him. I mean, he looked just like him. So, and he was a cut man. And, when I started training with him, he's like, Moss, you're too old to box. Why don't you learn to, to work contracts and manage fighters and be a promoter, learn to do cuts, be a cut man. I'm like, okay. So I learned all that while I was training, but the whole time I really wanted to fight. So, but I did, I learned all that stuff from him. He was a very good cut man, and I learned, and there were fighters that I worked with. I had one, he was a good friend of mine. He was kind of he was a stablemate, but I would go work his fights a lot, and have 5 cuts in one fight. It was crazy. I mean, I learned how to be a cut man for sure. Well, it's like what they say, when they bleed when they sign the contract, then they need a good cut man. So, but yeah, that's I haven't had to do a lot of that, but since I've worked with him, but I've been, I'm definitely when I'm in the corner, I don't need a cut man unless it's a very serious fight, and I know I can't be distracted. So at that point, I'd hire somebody to take that.
You stole my next question. So you basically don't need a cut man because you're right there. But you also said,
if it's a big fight, I don't need the distraction. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you ever when you're watching fights, ever see like the cut man do things wrong or something or something?
I don't really pay attention to the cut man. No? But yeah, I mean, there've been times when I'm like, why isn't the bleeding stopped? Well, I mean, sometimes I see, I don't know if they're not, you gotta have adrenaline. So that's a thing now. When I first started, it was cheap. You could get it, now it's very expensive. It's hard to get. A lot of guys don't have, I recently met a cut man that said, well, sometimes I work the corner with no adrenaline. I'm like, how are you a cut man? Because what do you do when they cut? Well, I just, use Vaseline and, I'm like, it does not stop bleeding. Cut. I don't know. But you got a lot of those kind of guys running around, call themselves a cut man with a towel bucket. Okay. Cut man. Yep, boxing's full of that. So, but yeah, I do know how to close it. Actually, I got a big one right between my eyes that I closed myself.
Whoa! All right.
Yeah, it wasn't from a fight though. It's from a softball giant cut.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right. But yeah, you got to know how to do that. Of course. I mean, sometimes stitches are the best thing when you're a fighter, but sometimes there's, if you can close it with, there's certain kind of paper stitches that I prefer because they don't damage the skin so bad around the cut. Because sometimes those stitches, can just cause a lot of trauma, but they'll tighten it up. It just depends on how good the doctor is. But usually when you have a cut, it doesn't tear on the same cut over and over. It tears either right above it or right below it because that scar tissue is very hard and dense. And so the next cut will happen at the edge of the first cut, where the soft tissue meets the hard tissue. So, that's why you worry about traumatizing the skin too much. So it's a thing. But, nowadays you can go, get some aesthetics and they'll get rid of that scar. And that's if I have a fighter that has a bad scar, I'll probably send him to get that thing lasered or something because they'll prevent him from cutting next time. That's the advantage of being a woman in boxing. Go to the Botox place and let's get them to laser that cut, and then it won't have a scar. So, you guys, you can take care of those now. So,
yeah, most definitely. Hey Terri, it's been great having you here. Anything else you wanted to say to the boxing fans out there?
Just do your thing. Let's make some good fights. Come to Buckhead Fight Club if you're in Atlanta. We got a great gym for camp. We've got a lot going on here. Atlanta's changing and growing. We're getting too busy for our own setup here. So, but there's a lot going on. Come have some fun and let's see some good fights in the ring. That's what I would say is, definitely don't be afraid to take a challenge. You got to step up. I mean, I'll tell you, just, as I've stepped a bell up, he had about 38 amateur fights. I can't remember, honestly. I was there for all of them, but too many fighters. Yeah. But he didn't have 200 amateur fights. He didn't, go to the Olympics, all that kind of thing. So, I want to build his record in a way that's going to challenge him. And I don't want to pamper him. So, but he feels much better about a hard-earned win than he ever would about, a bum he's going to knock out and, twerk in the ring. If he did that, I'd be embarrassed.
Oh.
But yeah, nothing better than a hard-earned win, man. That's a feeling like you feel like a fighter. Like that's what fighters need to feel like fighters. And I think that's one thing that causes a lot of problems with these built records. They got guys with a cushy, soft record, and then they go to a real fight. They don't have the confidence because they know they haven't been challenged. And then, they go in there and they get that loss. And, you got to feel confident about yourself. And the only way you can do that is to go in there and, overcome that other challenge, right before. You gotta challenge yourself a little bit to be a fighter. It's like people ask me, when you were 0-3, why did you keep going? You were already 36 years old. I'm like, well, I wasn't gonna stop till I won. And then I wasn't gonna stop till I got a title. Why would I do that? So I mean, it's just a matter of, it's hard for me to, feel empathy toward a fighter that's not willing to go out there when I'm a woman and I didn't care at all, So and I was an old woman. So I took all the embarrassment and I didn't care one bit. So they have to have some huevos to go out there and do something.
Yes.
Fortitude.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. That's why people love boxing. They want to see a real fight.
Yeah, that's why it's popular in Mexico.
Yeah. Yes, that's why. That's exactly why. Everybody loves Mexican fighters. Me too.
Hey, really quick, before I let you go, who would have won? Layla Ali or Ann Wolf?
Ann Wolf. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Nah.
No doubt about it.
Would have killed her.
Wow. All right.
Not even close. Yeah.
Hey, not even close.
Person, I just, it's the perfectly pitched, rhythm right there. Layla Ali, they fought just the right people at just the right time, which is what people do now. So, but no, Ann Wolf was not going to happen. There's a reason why that didn't happen.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely thank you for coming out. We'd like to have you on in the future, of course, and all that great stuff. And
thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys always having on my Latin fighters. So I've got a lot of them. Almost all of them are Latino.
All the Spanish guys in Spanish. They'll send them this way.
Bring them over. Bring them on.
For sure. Have a good one, Terry.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Take care.
For sure.
Thank you.
There you go. The one and only Terri Moss. Hey, great guest. Great guest. Yeah. How's it going, Ron? How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm happy to be back, man. After a pretty short absence of not being able to even put content in my channel for being out of town. I'm kind of glad to be back. One in my channel, and then back with you guys, of course.
I have two questions. It's one question, but we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly really quick. What is the good of this past weekend?
The good of this past weekend was us witnessing a new threat in the welterweight division, a serious threat in the welterweight division, a threat that's here, not even giving a damn who's in front of him. If you're in the way, he wants you just so that he can be ahead of you. And that is Jerome Boots Ennis. That is the good of this past weekend, in my opinion. The ugly, I don't like the negative that's going towards Joe Smith, a blue collar dude that's been through a lot in the past few months, getting fights, destroying his body to make weight, fights being canceled without him even knowing, having to go back to his house, not knowing if he's gonna fight, rehydrating his body, then getting another call, cutting weight again, the fight not happening, then rehydrating, getting another call to make weight again to fight Vlasov, and he gave us the fight that his body allowed him to give us. People don't understand the physiological aspect of this. They don't understand what he went through, right? So now that's what they're saying. Well, man, that was a close fight. In reality, I believe that if Joe Smith would have gotten a normal training camp where he didn't have to cut weight, rehydrate, then cut weight again, I think he would have been in a lot better shape to take on Vlasov. And I think that his victory would have been a little more impressive. I'm not mad at the decision. It was one of those toss-up fights that if the judge would have given it to Vlasov, good. If they gave it to Smith, good as well. It was just one of those toss-up fights. Smith got lucky when his way. In my opinion, he earned it. But another good thing that shocked me is the British man, Conor Ben. I didn't even know this dude spoke Spanish. I really didn't even know this dude spoke Spanish. I'm looking at him and he takes his mask off and he's like, "Yo no tengo miedo a pelear con nadie." And I'm like, what the hell am I hearing? Who is this talking? It was kind of
I thought that was Mayorga, bro.
Man, it was kind of bad. And you know, where people are saying he's cocky, I say he's being brutally honest when he says, "I learned nothing from this weekend. You know, this fight was no challenge. I need a step up. I need something that's going to challenge me." How often do you hear? We were just talking to Terri Moss about that, how fighters today want to go under the radar and make the money and carry themselves with an undefeated record. Here we have a guy who's like, dude, I'm not learning nothing. I'm going to need better names. I want to be challenged, right? So we want to criticize the fighter that's doing the very thing we want fighters to do. And when a fighter does it, we want to criticize him. It just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. Conor Ben, man, I'm hoping to see a lot more from him. Jerome Boots Ennis, hell of a fighter. And that gentleman in the middle, which a lot of people make the terrible mistake of thinking he's just a brawler. He's got another thing coming for those of you that think he's just a brawler.
That's right. Oh, man. Hey, Conor Ben. Hey, Conor Ben, you scared or what? You scared, brother, or what? Huh? You scared, Conor? What?
Yo no tengo miedo de nadie. Yo soy listo para pelear. Yo me gusta pelear. Yo soy listo.
Let me tell you guys what happened in that moment really quick. What happened in that moment, right? And that was the ugly for me of the weekend, all right? Vargas was defeated in that moment, okay? Because he's like this. He's like, be ready, prepare yourself mentally and physically. That yo no te tengo miedo, okay? Yo no te tengo miedo. No, yo no estoy hablando de miedo. Once he said that, he was defeated.
That's it, done.
You were trying to intimidate him, bro. You were trying to intimidate the guy. And once you're like, whoa, like it reminded me of that Spanish-speaking dude that talked to that güero and didn't know that güero knew Spanish. And he goes, ¿qué me dijiste? Oh, no, you no estás jugando. Like, well, what do you mean he was just playing? What do you mean? So that was, he was a mentally defeated fighter. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I believe that.
No, you're right. And a lot of people don't realize that a psychological switch like that just before the fight, when your body is at a stress, it can have an effect on you. And I don't think he expected that. I don't think he expected the aggression either. Conor Ben came out to take his head off. You know what I mean?
His hand to him.
Yeah, man.
He said, no, you're not hablo de miedo. No, mira. Like, the fuck? He slapped. He's like, vámonos, cabrón. Like,
le comió la torta.
Holy shit. I'm like, is that Alejandro Fernandez with tats? What is going on over here?
I think,
bro, that was Mayorga, bro.
I think he's either Colombian or Venezuelan descent. Conor Ben, I think he is. One of those two. I'm not sure. You will have to research that. So
if it's Colombia, it makes it more ironic because that's where Vargas is from.
Yeah. Well, he lives in Canada, so.
So yeah. Wait, Toronto, tough guys are from. Okay, Toronto's where it's at, according to Milcar. Hey, but what's your ugly of the weekend, Chicano Prophet? Talk to us.
Well, I have to say my ugly of the week is Ebony Bridges with that shiner, man. I'll tell you, I really didn't know who she was until this week, and then I heard the stories about her, and so I looked at the photos, and yeah, I like blondes, but silicone isn't really my thing, so I wasn't really looking at the photos too much.
Wow.
But after that fight. After that fight, I wanted to look at that shiner, and I took a look, and I was like, "Damn!" Now that's what I'm talking about. So that's my ugly of the week.
Wow. All right. Hey, talk to us, Chief Funky.
You stole my thunder, Chicano. That was my ugly of the week. Also, that thing was ugly. It was nasty. It was grotesque. That thing was just enormous, you know. But I think what made it more ugly is the fact that she talked a lot of mess about Courtney, you know, and what you had to say about her dressing in the lingerie and all that stuff, and to go out there and get buckled more than once, almost get stopped in the 9th round. And then to come out looking like that, yeah, that was definitely my ugly of the week.
Okay, all right. That's the ugly of the week. In fact, I mean, let's just look at it. You know what I mean? Let's take a look here. You know, look at everybody. Quasimodo. All right, it's Quasimodo. Everybody ready or what? Out there where the people are, I just wanna be out there. She's ready to grab Courtney and be like, sanctuary, sanctuary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, by the way, we get it. You have a shiner in your eye. Like every day, all I see on social media is, oh, she had a shiner in her eye. Like, and she was being a good sport, but then like she's complaining about, you know, she's complaining about the, you know, the commentary that they weren't giving her enough credit for how crisp her punches were. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, come on. You know, so she's already been a little bit of a sore loser. You know, I don't know. I don't want to give her that much attention. You know. What was that?
Right.
What was that, Chicano?
No, she just seems like she's high maintenance.
Okay. Man. Hey, Garcia Fortuna has been announced for July, I believe. What do you make of this announcement? Raw, talk to us.
I think that as boxing fans, we don't have much to complain when it comes to this, and here's why. Because, yeah, we're not getting Tank Davis versus Ryan. We're not getting the Pacquiao versus Ryan, but I'd much rather see Ryan versus a Fortuna, who is a very credible opponent, who has a good momentum coming his way, who is not 38 or 39 years of age, who's not coming off a knockout loss. We are getting Ryan Garcia against a fighter like that instead of seeing him against an old washed, you know, stay busy type of opponent, right? I mean, when you look at the other side of the pond, we see a Devin Haney that, in my opinion, congratulations to him. He is stepping up his game a little bit against Linares, but Linares is like saying Gamboa. With the difference, Linares did won, I believe, his last fight. Gamboa didn't, but when we talk Linares, we're talking about a Linares. I get the feeling of when Linares was this legitimate beast under Salas. Once Linares left Salas, he had a good momentum for a very short period of time, and then he dropped. And not to mention, his body is broken. And he's not the same Linares. Although I do have to say this, very dangerous, very experienced. But my question is, with such a broken body, will his body be able to respond in the way that he should against a fast and well-educated Devin Haney? Because at the end of the day, there's nothing Devin Haney can do that Linares hasn't seen in there already. But sometimes you have the experience, right? And you see your opponent and you know what your opponent is going to do. But when you try to react, your body is like, back up, I'm 35. Back up, I'm 36. I know your mind is telling you what to do, but I'm the body. And I'm broken. And I'm tired. And I'm old. Therefore, I'm not going to let you do it. That's my question. If Linares comes in a very good shape, though, and Haney gives us the fight he gave us against Gamboa, I can see Linares leaving there with his hands raised. But that's a big if. If Linares comes in a hell of a shape and Devin Haney gives us what he gave us against Gamboa.
Hey, by the way, Shoeshine, and you know who knocked him out? Cesar Pablo Cano knocked him out. You know who beat Cano? Eric El Terrible Morales. Okay, so shout out to Eric Morales, by the way. I just got to throw that out there, G Funky, because he's better than Barrera, but we don't need to go there. G Funky, talk to us, brother. Who is, or what do you make, I'm sorry, of the Garcia Fortuna fight? Talk to us.
I like the fight, man. And for all you guys out there that want to come and hate, because I know some of you are lurking in the shadows right now. I said if Haney was to fight Fortuna, I give him credit. So I got to give Garcia credit for it. And I think he's definitely more of a live dog than Linares is at this point. I give Haney his due if he beats Linares, but again, he's fighting a guy who's been knocked out 5 times. Every time he's lost, been knocked out by KO. Then he just fought a guy who just got who's been on the ground 17 times in Gamboa. So I mean, is he stepping up a little tiny bit? Yeah, a little bit. But I think Ryan's last 2 opponents far superior than Haney's. So I see a lot of guys complaining, a lot of Haney fans complaining. But that was your boy's mandatory, if I'm not mistaken. So, he now Garcia's got to do his thing. So I like it, man.
Hey, check out that shirt. Look at that.
Look at that. Cuba.
Whatever. If I know, if you guys go to the Teespring, I have Cuba, I have Puerto Rico, I got USA and Mexico. But if you have a flag, just tell me what you want, and I'll arrange it for you. You know what I mean? It could be done. Just tell me the flag you want, all that good stuff. Chicano Prophet Garcia, a part of Canelo team. That pumps you up, right? Fighting
that's right.
Fortuna. What's your reaction to fight being official?
I think it's a good fight. I think Javier Fortuna has been referenced as a dark horse on HCP, and I would agree with that. I think he's got a really interesting style. I think this is also going to legitimize Ryan Garcia more. Like, we've seen him become a prospect, but now when he's fighting Campbell's and Fortunas, he's slowly becoming a man before our eyes, taking off tough challenges, tough styles. And I think that this is a good match for him. I think that it is obvious that maybe they slowed down Ryan Garcia just a little bit, but are also continuing to step him up. And I think after this fight, when he proves himself, I think he's ready for the title shot. And I think, it could be the sky's the limit if he continues to be hungry and show that, he's not just some Instagram dude, and he's got good skills and a good trainer and the drive and the hunger to succeed in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm excited about this fight, man. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people are calling it a step up. I mean, I thought Garcia's last fight was a step up. I felt that was a really good win against Campbell. Like, Campbell's no joke. This is a gold medalist we're talking about. You know what I mean? This is a guy with skills, and on people. 1 week, depending who beats them, right? Dude's a Euro bum, but the following week they're not Euro bum. Just pick and choose when someone's a Euro bum. You know what I mean?
Good point.
But, I'm just going to say this right now. Campbell's a way better fighter than Lipinets. I can tell you that right now, right? But that's not
I definitely, like I said, I'm not even disappointed. We have nothing to complain about with this fight. I mean, let's be real here. Do we want to see Ryan Garcia against this opponent, or do we want to see him against Joe that serves me the ice cream through the window? We don't. I'd much rather see him against the Fortuna, who has a very good momentum, who has given a bunch of undefeated fighters their very first gift, their very first defeat, right? Who's not a strange to the boxing world, who is an experienced boxer, who hits very hard. And yes, although Luke was a step up, I like to say that Fortuna is also a step up because of the momentum, because of the experience, and because he also posed a threat. If you ask me as a boxing fan, I would have loved to see him fight against Tank Davis. But the question is, was that fight ever really realistically a fight? No. I mean, look at Tank. That Tank is looking to fight at 140 pounds, right? He's facing 14 counts, right? We don't even know the actual mystery behind the Pacquiao situation. Right. So, hey, how about we look at it in the positive side, which is Fortuna and Ryan Garcia being the cleaners of the WBC and Devin Haney's mess. That's the way I want to look at it.
Hey. filling in the potholes. You know
We
what I
got
mean?
to, man. We got to. Otherwise, boxing is going to lose their suspension, and we're going to have a rough ride. So you got to fill in the potholes.
That's right. Hey, a little bit of a contradiction from, just switch gears here with Shields. Clarissa Shields is out here demanding that Eddie Hearn pays her. You know what I mean? Because that's what she's saying. She's saying, "You want me to fight Marsha?" I'm going to call her Marsha because she has no L's. She's undefeated. So it's not Marshall, Marsha. Okay? But she's saying, like, hey, you want me to fight the silent assassin? You want me to fight her, Eddie Hearn? You better put up that money, Eddie Hearn. Is what she said. Look at everything I've accomplished. You want me to take this fight? But then Clarissa Shields also says Savannah Marshall is a hype job. She hadn't beat anybody good. She's not talented at all. She's overrated. She beats people coming off of, short notices. So if she ain't shit, well, why do you want a record? Why do you want to make more money than you've ever made fighting this girl? Okay. And on top of that, calling her broke too. Oh, you're broke. You fight for $25,000 a fight. Get out of here. But then you want a record payday? Based on what? First of all, maybe if you sell it as, hey, you know what? Hey, you know what? You're right, Eddie Hearn. She could knock me out. She is a challenge. She is dangerous. That's why you should pay me more money. Then that would make more logical sense. Okay?
Yeah.
But then she's like, oh, well, you want me to? Like, no, pay me. I want the moolah. I want the money. She is your white hope.
Oh, gosh.
What is this, 1915? Just FYI, for those that don't know, okay, in putting the inference that someone is a white hope, you're basically saying, okay, you're basically saying that there's an apparatus behind trying to make Marshall the champion because, she's got the complexion for it, all right? Which that's not what's happening right now, because you know why? You know how I know? Because no one gives a fuck about women's boxing like that. Okay, right. Like white supremacists are like, we really got to dominate the boxing world right now, and especially the women's divisions. You know what I mean? We need to really, that's not a thing. They don't give a fuck about women's boxing like that. It's just the truth, all right? So with that said, Clarissa Shields wants more money. Chicano, I'm gonna go to you first. What do you make of that?
Well, I agree with everything you said. And to me, too, when you reference somebody as the great white hope, and we all have to agree, I think it's kind of racist. And to me, there's connotations there that when you indicate that somebody's like the white hope, I feel like you're also saying that like there aren't any white people that are getting it done. And this might be like the hope of the white people that can get it done. That's what I hear when I hear the great white hope. And so to me, I think it's very tasteless. Clarissa Shields is, she said a lot of things over time that, she get passes for. Like, for instance, she went around saying that she could whip up Triple G. And I think all of us just trying to be polite, just kind of ignored it, really didn't say much about it, but she was piping off. I also think that one of her entourage beat up a trainer of one of her opponents during a weigh-in. And I've never seen anything like that. And to me, there's no excuse. She tried to say, oh, well, it wasn't me or whatever. But I continue to find her to be classless and not in one of those ways where like, I want to see her get beat. So I'm going to pay to see her get beat. I'm starting to care less and less about her.
Okay. All right. Well said. Talk to us, Chief Funky. Cook.
Well, as far as the great white hope thing, I couldn't agree more with you guys. And I'm just going to put it out there like this. Imagine if the other girl had said that about Shields,
Ooh.
I mean, it would be a huge deal. So, I mean, but as far as her trash talk goes and her wanting money, I mean, the way I'm looking at it is she's trying to use that Floyd Mayweather blueprint, He kind of did the same thing. Like, I'm gonna take you guys back on a little memory lane, man. I want to say it was about 2005, 2006 when he fought Arturo Gatti, which at the time was Mayweather's biggest fight. Might not have been the best opponent that he had been in with at that time, but it was the biggest name he had been in. The fight was on pay-per-view. But I remember him just trashing Gatti all through the promotion for that fight, calling him a bum, calling him a C+ fighter and all this and that, And then he gets in there, destroys Gatti, and he's crying like he just accomplished the greatest thing in the world. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I thought you called him a bum and all this and that, So I know what she's doing with that. So I mean, I'm not mad at her about that, but as far as the Great Hope thing, that is classless, and she should do better for sure. And I agree with Chicano as well. Her trying to say she could beat up men, I mean, that's just crazy, and that's not going to get anybody to want to watch women's boxing. Sorry, it's just not.
Hey, I mean, look, I mean, it's a hot topic, but we're Hispanics causing panic. We're going to cause panic if necessary. You know what I mean? We're going to speak our minds, and that's just the way it is, okay? But Raw, what do you make of, everything we're talking about here with Clarissa Shields, wanting more money, all that good stuff?
Clarissa Shields beats Triple G.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Clarissa Shields beats any man.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Clarissa Shields deserves and earned the money she's asking for.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Is this the Clarissa Shields that sold less than 10,000 pay-per-views? Are we talking about the same Clarissa Shields here? The Clarissa Shields is asking for $740,000 or $30,000 when she only sold less than 10,000 pay-per-view? I mean, give me a break. And as far as the White Hope thing goes, it's called riding the wave of the current social fabric, where racism is very lucrative, racism sells, racism gets you places, right? The question is she actually thinking that this type of comments and mentality is going to get her places? The wrong news for her, the wrong way of doing it. Let me tell you, it turns me off as a boxing fan. Why is that important? Because just like me, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are boxing heads that are not even going to. And look, I've been trying to give Clarissa Shields a chance for the longest time, but her mouth gets her in trouble when it comes to me. I love female boxing. All of our channels have been showing love to female boxing. Man, when you start running your mouth with nonsensical things and then talking about things that you have no proof of, that's where I take issues. At the end of the day, realistically speaking, Clarissa Shields, inside of her knows that she's not worth that money. And she knows that in order to make that money, she's probably going to have to go stay at the PFL. She's going to have to fight Kyla Harrison, who actually earns $1 million per fight. And she actually knows that she's not going to beat Kyla either. And yeah, you got 2 Olympic gold medals, great achievements. But the very thing that female boxing is lacking, which is knockouts, you've never given us. You've given us 2 stoppages while your opponents are on their feet. I've never seen Clarissa Shields putting anybody to sleep. I've seen people putting females putting people to sleep, and they're not selling 10,000 pay-per-views. They're making a lot more than that. We have a fighter now in Sienna Estrada, who I'm really high on, that in my opinion is worth $750,000. She's worth $750,000. Miss Estrada is worth every penny of that. And that's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right, Tracy. Men do talk shit. And I don't think this is about talking shit, though.
Correct.
I think the question is for this and for everybody to ponder upon is, look at the contradiction. So let's take John Jones, who said he wants to get paid more money to get in the ring with Ngannou. Was he calling Ngannou a bum and a guy that is no good and all that? No. The argument he made was, hey, that's a dangerous fight. I'm moving up in weight. That's a dangerous dude. That dude could knock me the fuck out. He could have hurt me really bad. I feel I should make more money for taking on that challenge, right? So even that made more sense to me, all right, than anything, to be honest with you.
Correct.
I mean, come on. So it's not about talking shit. Savannah Marshall was talking shit. She said, you get in the ring with me, I'm going to knock you out. Do we agree with that? Do we not agree with that? Okay, it's whatever, but that's talking shit.
But
right?
look, D, let me add this real quick. Look at the difference of talking trash between what a man does in the boxing world and what Clarissa Shields is doing. How often do you hear a professional male boxer talking about, I can knock out Clarissa Shields? Have you ever heard that out of a male boxer? Because it will make no sense and it will have a very bitter taste in the ears of the boxing fan. To hear a female professional boxer that has never knocked anybody out talking about she can beat a man that has put the majority of his opponents to sleep with either hand, that gave us 2 electrifying fights against the face of boxing. To say that she could put him out is stupid. Okay? To say that she can beat any man out, because I have heard her say that, is stupid, because although she's got skills, let me tell you something. Little Ray from the down the corner, I can go get a few guys that without ever fighting probably have a good chance against her, because biology doesn't lie always. And there is a bigger difference. So it's not so much that she's talking trash, is how she's doing it. Because if we put her words in the in the mouth of a male boxer, man, we would be trying to crucify the dude. Can you imagine if say Ryan Garcia was to say, man, I don't know why Clarissa running her mouth, I can knock her out. Do you actually think people will accept that? Would Ryan Garcia be accepted for saying that?
No.
Absolutely not. So it's not so much talking trash, it's what you're saying, because it's professional boxing. Talking trash sells, but there's a limit to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so look, at the end of the day, and I understand there's going to be differences of opinion in the chat, but that's the beauty about, shows like ours, where we allow everyone to have an opinion, regardless of anything. We're not here to censor people or any of that, and we welcome all perspectives, all opinions. But if I disagree, believe me, you're going to hear my disagreement. You're going to hear it loud, right? Like point blank, period. Now, we are live, all right? Make sure you hit that like button, all right? If you may, you know what I mean? It'll be appreciated if you do that, okay? And hey, Chief Funky Man, anything you wanted to add about this topic with Clarissa Shields? Do you think she's contradicting herself, saying, on one hand, I want more money than ever, but at the same time saying, Marshall ain't shit?
It's an obvious contradiction, but, like I said, I feel like she's using the Mayweather thing, trash talk to hell, downgrade your opponent, just to sell tickets. So we'll see if it works. I mean, it hasn't seemed to work so far. So maybe she should just change up her strategy. Maybe she should just try to put on more entertaining fights, but we'll see. We'll see if it does that for her in the long run, but I just don't think it'll work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Neon says boxing is a male-dominated sport, period. I wouldn't be polarizing on purpose had I been a female boxer. And she says, shrugs. Wow. There you go. All right. But at the end of the day, look, you have to. I'm all for equal opportunity. I'm all for equal rights and all that, right? So let's judge everything equally, okay? If a male boxer sold the pay-per-view she sold, he wouldn't be getting $1 million, okay?
Bam.
Unless your name is Devin Haney, and then you just get it for no reason. But other than that, okay? Other than that, all right? Anyway, we can't talk about that, right, Chief Funky? Wink, wink, because, some people behind the scenes, but that's a different story. You know what I mean? With that said, by the way, y'all poked the bear. I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time before Bill Haney opens his mouth again, and I don't want to hear any fucking crying. Do you understand me?
Facts.
All right. Okay, with that said.
No llores, no llorón.
Tell him not to talk about me. Like, shut up. Okay? Anyway, I know you guys don't worry about it in the chat. Anyway, let me ask you guys this. We touched on it a little bit with Terry, and is it like, and I want to make sure people understand this, right? I want fighters to get paid. Like, I'm not like, you know what I mean? I want fighters to get compensated for the risks that they take and all that. Okay. But I always hear fans like they don't understand this concept. Like, Monday's fight night, dude. There's a budget. There's a thing called a budget that Fox Sports has, that ESPN has, that the Zone has, even Trilla has a budget, okay? Any responsible organization is going to have a budget. Showtime, right? So if you pay someone that's not doing anything too much money, like, I get the whole, but I support the fighters, though, D-Style. Let them get those $7 million to fight. Like, I don't care about that. Let Mikey Garcia and Vargas get $7 million a pop to fight on the Zone. Here's what I say. Good for them, okay? Okay, hey, good for you. Not good for the sport. Not good for the fans. That's our money!
Yep.
We fund the fucking sport. Like, what are you talking about? What about our hardworking money that we fund the sport so they could do what they do? That's number one. Number two, what about the other fighters? If you pay one dude too much, what do you think happens with the other fighters? What about them? They don't put their lives on the line? They don't put it on the line or what? If you overpay some fighters, you're taking money from the table of other fighters. Okay? That's why you pay guys that earn it and deserve it. Okay? So I'm not including Teofimo and Triller in this case because they earned it with what they accomplished against Lomachenko. I'm not including Canelo because he shows that's what he generates. Okay? But some dudes are just getting paid. And I go back to this Michael Jordan thing. They're paying them based off of their potential and what they could potentially be. But if you're paying somebody $2 million for potential, what do you think they're going to charge when it's time to actually get in there with a killer? Someone that really can knock their head off. Do you really think they're going to fight that dude, or are they going to continue fighting the level of opposition they've been fighting? All right? So just give that a thought. And if you keep draining the budget, then that affects all other fighters, right? I'd rather have a sport where 10 dudes become millionaires than one guy gets paid $10 million to fight some nobody, all right? So I hope people understand that, right? So with that said, do you guys believe that there's too much talk about the bag, about getting that money, and all that from the new age fighters, Raw?
I believe that is the main topic in boxing today. But the problem is this, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with it when it's coming from somebody that has put the work. Perfect example. Look, I did a video yesterday talking about the Tyson versus Holyfield fight not happening because Mike Tyson wants $25 million. They weren't willing to give him $25 million, so now Holyfield's going to fight my bridge. But the question is, does Mike Tyson earn the $25 million? And my opinion is yes. And I'm going to connect this to your question. Here's why he earns the $25 million, people. Because this is a man that after 15 years of retirement came back with Triller, previously a music app, to test the waters, made $10 million, and they sold over 1.2 million pay-per-views. So it is only fair that him, knowing that his legacy, everything he did in the past, right, carries on and translates into today and can make money. If he made $10 million and sold over $1.2 million, over 1.2 million pay-per-views with Roy Jones Jr., I can only imagine, and he can only imagine, and the world can only imagine what a fight versus Holyfield, who's not going to tap and go. It's actually going to come at Mike Tyson, right? Can you imagine what that fight would have made? I truly believe that Mike Tyson, knowing this and having a good business team behind him, because we're not talking about Mike Tyson from 10, 15 years ago. He's got a very brilliant wife that knows how to manage numbers and businesses. And that's why that's why Tyson is successful again, because of his wife, right? I can only imagine what they were talking about. Like, dude, you came back after 15 years. We're testing the water. You made 10 million. They sold over 1.2 million pay-per-view. Now we want more money with Holyfield. It makes sense, but why is it that Tyson does that? Because he put in the work. Translating it till today, name me a fighter that's putting in that kind of work out of the top 10 of each weight division, and you might be able to name me one out of each division, and that's it. That's it. So yeah, we can talk about the bag, but then there's a question: what have you done to earn that bag? What have you done? Because it seems to me that the fighters that are putting in the work to earn the bag, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, they're getting criticized by the guys that want the bag without the work. It's kind of like the social fabric of outside of the ring is infiltrating themselves into the ring. And now I don't want to do any work, but I want to earn some money. How the hell does that work?
Absolutely. I mean, well said. Chief Funky, talk to us, brother. What do you make of all this money talk? And I know you're already like don't even give a shit about the business side and all that, but the fact that the fighters are throwing it out there and all that, what do you make of it?
Oh man, it just really gets on my nerves because, like you said, and I've been very consistent with this for 10 years since I've been on YouTube talking boxing with you guys. I don't give a damn about the business and how it works. I mean, do I want to see these guys get paid? Yeah, absolutely, because they put their lives on the line. That's number one. Number two, they sacrifice a lot. They don't get to spend time with their families, things like that. So yeah, they deserve to get paid, but I don't want to fucking hear about it. I mean, excuse my language, but I really don't care who's making money and who gets more, whatever. This A side, B side crap. Never been into it, man. It's never been my thing. Probably never will. I got my own bills that I need to pay. They get paid every month, and I make my own money. And that's the only money I'm concerned about. A lot of you fanboys out there are very concerned with that. And I mean, I don't know why. I mean, to be honest with you, sound like one of these chicks out here that they need to have a man that's got money. I'm only going to date a man if he's got a Mercedes or if he's got this much money in his pocket or whatever. Like who gives a shit?
You're jealous of his mansion. You're jealous of his cars, huh? Is that what it is? I'm motherfuckers be living like in a fucking 1-bedroom apartment and shit. Like needing the carpet clean and all that other bullshit. Okay.
Right, dude's living in a studio, talking all this shit, but
don't even have a cat because you're not allowed to have a cat in the apartment and shit. You know what I mean? Shout out to cats.
Hey, but yeah, that's always been my perspective on it, man. So I'm through with it. You go ahead, Chicano.
Go ahead, Chicano. Talk to us. Well, what do you make of it? Especially since the biggest money man of them all doesn't even talk about it.
Right, man. It's always behind the scenes. And, I think when these boxers who think that they're high profile talk about the bag, I really think it's part of a larger problem. I think there's a lot of things that are going on in boxing that are starting to annoy me. And one of the things is like the ego of some of these champions. We mentioned people like Pacquiao and Canelo. Some of these fighters have never even B-sided once, and they've never taken risks, and they're only willing to B-side against like a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao or a Canelo to basically cash out ultimately. And these guys run around like they're high profile, high status. And I'm not really sure if we noticed this because we're hardcore boxing fans who follow them in social media. But a lot of people just don't care about what these guys got going on. Like my dad, he got me into boxing. He'll call me and say, "Hey, mijo, what's going on? Is Spence going to fight Crawford?" And I don't want to get into it with him about all this stupid stuff that we have to talk about. He'd rather just see the fight. He doesn't care about who's making more money. These people don't fight like they used to. They don't chase glory like they used to. And so I think it's a real shame. And the money comes with the legacy. It goes hand in hand. And, there could be a lot more work being done with the Errol Spences of the world, the Jamal Charlos of the world. But they're acting like they're these high profile guys. But, if you look at somebody like Spence, yeah, he's doing okay. But each pay-per-view he's doing is doing less and less since Mikey Garcia. And you can bet if he fights Ugas, it's going to be even less. So, I think there needs to be some perspective for these dudes, and who knows, maybe they've gotten used to the money. Another thing that starts to irritate me about these fighters in the current era is I think that there are some that are talented enough and comfortable enough to take soft touches along the way, maybe fight once or twice a year, and they're okay with their quality of life. They might be tying up the sport a little bit, but then again, nobody's there to put them down. But then again, they're not really taking on those tough challenges either. So in some regards, it's kind of frustrating being a boxing fan when you start talking about the bag and the other issues.
That's right. That's right. This video is going to be banned in Saudi Arabia. We know why. You know what I mean? But it's okay. They don't even watch boxing over there. Right? But we might have a title fight over there, though. You know what I mean? But hey, let me tell you something. I'm tired about hearing about the bag, man. I'm just tired of it. So that's that. Speaking of the bag, though, who is going to get a bag? So this was breaking news to me. So the Jake Paul fight may not happen with Askren?
Yeah, they're talking about a sexual assault case that apparently has been chasing him for a while now. It's getting even more serious now, and they're questioning whether the authorities are even going to allow this to happen. So you know how it is in this type of atmosphere. This may be true. He might have a good enough attorney that might work to where he might fight. It's such a bunch of drama going on, but I do know that this sexual thing. It's not nothing new. It's been chasing him for a while. They just been putting it aside for a little bit. Now, I'm not necessarily alluding to or saying that he actually sexually assaulted the girl. You know, when you have money, even looking at a girl could be translated as a sexual assault. And it's a fact. I mean, here at work, we had a person that we all felt sorry for because she kept talking about she was raped, and then we can't find out she was talking about micro rape. We didn't know what it was. It turned out that micro rape in her mind is when a man looks at her. So with having money, we don't know if in fact this is an actual sexual assault or if it's in fact some girl trying to cash in. But we also don't know if in fact, it might be an actual, but it's been chasing him for a while. So we don't know if the fight's going to happen. That's right.
Okay, we're now in round 6 of the odds playing. But look, man, look, check it out. In all seriousness, if the fight happens, right? Because you never know. Because you said it, people got money. They'll make some stuff work out. So a lot of people have invested a lot of money in this. I'm pretty sure they're doing everything possible to make sure the fight goes through. Assuming it goes through, Raw, dude, like Ben Askren, like what people need to understand, and you'll know this, right? People just assume, he's an MMA fighter, right? They do everything, so he knows how to box. But I don't know about that. Talk to us about Ben Askren. Have you worked with MMA fighters? Have you worked with MMA fighters that had better hands?
I worked. This is in all honesty. I trained a sheriff out of Indiana who was new in the MMA world, had never boxed a day in his life. And in comparison to Ben Askren, he looked like a Floyd Mayweather. Ben Askren is a grappler, a world-class grappler. Now, if we were talking about a grappling contest, I could tell you, Ben is going to have this dude like this. I don't think that Ben Askren's hands are even skillful enough to be able to keep up with somebody like a Jake Paul. On top of that, add the fact of the size difference. On top of that, we can assume, right? It's safe to assume that the Paul bro has a little bit of pop in his hands, right? So, yes, it sounds intriguing, but at the end of the day, it's hands. It's not grappling. And dare I say, in that department, believe it or not, the Paul brother has a bit of an edge on the brother. I don't think Askren is going to do anything. I don't think Askren is going to pose a danger. Now, in a fight, anything can happen, right? Of course. So, but all we got is the evidence that's been given to us. And when you look at Ben Askren's entire career inside the octagon, when he's throwing them hands, he looks like he's trying to kill mosquitoes. He's got no target. So,
oh man, I heard someone make an argument before I move the mic. I want to ask you one more question. I've heard the argument that, he couldn't really let his hands shine because he had to worry about kicks and he's mostly going for takedowns and all that. Well, what do you make of that?
I don't think that's a good way of excusing the fact that he couldn't let his hands shine, because you look at some of his fights, especially in the UFC, that was the entity that gave him the rude awakening, that you do need your hands. When you look at the fight with Robbie Lawler, he was being destroyed in that fight. Okay? We don't even have to talk about Jorge Masvidal because that wasn't even a fight. That was a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm out of here. But then when you go back to where he was successful, I believe was a Bellator. Was he at Bellator before the UFC? It might have been one of those fighting.
You know what? He was traded. They actually got rid of Mighty Mouse to trade for Ben Askren,
which makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense that you would think the Mount. But don't get me started on that. Look, he never got his hands to shine because there is no shine in his hands. The reason a grappler the reason a such talented grappler is looking for the ground on easy fights and on hard fights is because that's all he's got. If you had a grappler that had pretty decent hands, he would try to improve his hands when he has an easy fight in front of him. But Askren was always looking for the ground. And when he got to the hard fights, that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote.
The coach says Askren is a stiff when it comes to striking unathletic as hell. Shit, it's unbelievable. All right, and as we know, he's a wrestler. He's not allowed to do that other than some regular clinching. Hey, Chief Funky, do you think Jake Paul is going to win this fight against Ben Askren, the MMA fighter, bro? You know what I mean?
Of course he is, because this guy can't punch. Literally can't punch. And from what Rod just said, he looks like he's a hell of a wrestler, grappler, whatever. But he can't box. He doesn't stand a chance. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. And it's not because Paul is so much better or so good. It's just this guy can't fight. You put that dude in there with somebody that actually has some skill. You could find a guy who is, I don't know, 10-10 record. And I guarantee he beats the brakes off of a Jake Paul. If he's a boxer. But this guy, looking at some of the highlights that I've seen, you can't even call them highlights, just clips of them showing him hit the bag and hit the mitts. He doesn't stand a chance, man. I'm sorry. And it's not to disrespect him. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He's not a boxer, So that's really all I got to say about it. Cause that fight is a waste of time, man. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So, hey, Chicano, what do you think, man? Ben Askren?
Shit. Well, I have to say I agree with G Funky, man. I don't know much about either guy. I did see highlights of that Paul fight. I'm starting to think that when a celebrity boxer who's not really a boxer takes on an MMA fighter, it's starting to turn into kind of a cherry pick. And I'm slowly starting to get into MMA. And one of the things that I think when I watch two MMA fighters go at it, sometimes I can tell when one or both fighters would prefer to box, or at least be on their feet, exchanging with their hands. I see it often. And one of the things that I always think to myself when I see it is, well, if they were really good at boxing, then they would be a boxer, because there's a lot more money at the end of the road if you're fighting for titles on the boxing side of things. And so to me, this fight doesn't intrigue me too much. I'm not really into these circus type fights. I'll probably watch a highlight if there's a highlight to watch, but otherwise this fight doesn't really interest me too much. If they're going to make their money, that's great. But, I really don't know who this Paul dude is, other than he's famous for social media, and Askren's before my time of watching MMA. And if you guys are telling me, and I trust you guys, that this guy can't box, then it makes me not interested in this fight.
No, I can guarantee you have better hands than Ben Askren. That's a fact. No, because look, I'm being serious. Look at D-Style right now. That's Ben Askren. I don't understand it. I really don't. Now, if he was grappling again, I'll say he would destroy the Paul. But what is his name? What's this one? Is it Jake or this Logan? Which one of those two is this Paul?
This is Jake, I believe. I think Logan's the one fighting Mayweather, or supposedly fighting Mayweather.
Okay, yeah. So it's Jake, and then
that's
Logan.
A good question. I don't know.
So when people looked at Conor McGregor in MMA and his stand-up game, which was 90% of his victories, people thought this guy can come into boxing and take over, right? Well, he came in to boxing against pretty old Mayweather, and people thought he looked good. They never saw what Mayweather was doing. Mayweather was playing a game with this dude in there. Yeah, come at me.
Right.
When Mayweather decided to put pedal to the metal, who was Conor McGregor? A punching bag. Boogers flying everywhere, right? There's levels to this, and it's two separate entities. By no means am I saying boxers can dominate MMA fighters or vice versa. I think MMA fighters have a very little chance of being successful in boxing, but histories have shown us that boxers have a good chance of being successful in MMA.
Yeah. Shout out to half man, half amazing Jeremy Williams and 5-0. Mercer, old as shit. Well, he landed that bomb, knocked out Tim Silva. It is what it is, right? Hey, Big Dog Willie, I appreciate it, brother. He's a show support. Don't know much about MMA, and he's spreading rumors that that Joe Pesci was smashing J-Lo 97. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But maybe he was.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
McGregor wanted a paycheck. That fight was a setup. It wasn't a setup. He was getting beat up. He was carried.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that she's got. She's still Jenny from the block. Remember that. And she probably was getting smashed. Who knows?
Yeah, we didn't say she was in the block. You know what I mean? That's not what we said. But hey, what do you guys make of Regis Prograis, who was one of the biggest critics? You know, saying, "Oh, this is bad for boxing. Is YouTube? Who do they think they are?" And you know what I mean? I can't believe people are supporting this trash and saying all the right things, I guess. But now that Triller offered him a fight and some moolah, all of a sudden, Regis Prograis says, "You know what? He's like, I don't think this YouTube shit's that bad. Actually, I think it's actually good for boxing. Actually, you know." And there's a lot of side-by-side Twitters out there, tweets out there, you know, about all of this, man. I like side by side, Regis Prograis trashing it. Now that he's on the card, praising it. You know, what do you make of that, G Funky? I mean,
well, it's one of the in recent years, it's one of the worst backfires you've ever seen. You know, he goes on social media and then says, you know, that the YouTube boxing is bad and this and that, but then, you know, they pay him good money to be on the undercard of a guy who's fighting, who's a YouTube fighter, and you know, he doesn't have a choice. I mean, they're paying him. You know, they're paying him to do a job, so he's got to do his job. But definitely one of the worst backfires I've seen in quite some time. Pretty funny, but you know, hey, you know, he's got to do what he's got to do now. They're paying him to be on the card, so he's got to say good things about it, you know. But I still like Regis, you know, but it's just, you know, one of those things that happens, you know. Is sometimes we all slip, you know. It's all good.
It's kind of funny, actually. It's kind of funny. Hey, Chicano Prophet, talk to us. What do you make of it, man? Foot on his mouth or what?
Well, maybe a little bit, you know, but money talks, you know, and if he's interested in showing up to make some money, then he's got to do what he's got to do. I believe in a free market. So if there's an opportunity for people to make money and fight, then that's what they should do. I do think that, you know, Raw Boxing's talked a lot about this, that, you know, I think it's the modern crop of boxers that have allowed so many people to come into the sport and make money. He might not necessarily be at fault for this because he's young and he's hungry. He's on the come up and fighting everybody, but it's this generation in general that has allowed this. So let's see how it goes.
That's right. Raw. Any thoughts about this?
So in Spanish, we got this saying that says, "Con el dinero baila el mono." Monkey dances to the money, and that is a fact, man. You can get a lot of people to even turn on their own family for money. So to see somebody turning against themselves and contradicting themselves for the sake of making some money, it's nothing strange to me. I think he spoke a little too early. I agree with what he said, but you know, hey, this is what's going on right now. And as much as I hate it, I can't stop it. And if you as a fighter receive the opportunity to make the bag, then hey, what can I say, man? That's I don't know, man. I just don't want to keep seeing these cross fights. I really don't. I really don't want to see these cross promotions and cross entities back and forward. It serves no purpose for either entity. You know, UFC doesn't make nothing out of the UFC fan makes nothing out of this, just like the boxing fan makes nothing out of this, other than just a little giggle. You know what I mean? That's it. Because at the end of the day, we're always going to see the MMA fighter come into boxing, but not always are we going to see the boxer going to MMA because the money's not there. The money is just not there.
You know, it's simple, man. Like not that long ago, there was some towel work that someone wanted me to do, and I said, "Nah, I'm good. You know, I'm busy." And then they're like, "Well, I'll give you this." Well, you know, I mean, sure, you know, I could make some time to make. Well, why not? You know what I mean? Not that I think of it, I can do it. You know, like why didn't I think about that before? You know, can I have that check? Thank you. All right. So there you go. Hey, but I understand it though. I'm not mad at Regis. It's just kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm just saying. Hey, Teofimo Lopez is another one. He put a tweet out saying, "Oh, these fights are jokes and this and that," and you know. But in fairness, he's a headliner. He's not under the card of a YouTuber though. So there you go.
There's YouTubers on that card. I thought it was just the Holyfield.
No. I just know he's the headliner. I don't know if there's any YouTubers, but
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't,
You know what I mean?
I don't know either at this point.
Regis is in the undercard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
there you go. Just like Haney was. Big Star Haney under the Logan Paul KSI. I thought you were a big star, bro. Like, what do you mean you fight under the undercard of these YouTubers?
And the
right?
big proof of that is once Haney fought that night, how many people were in the bleachers? None.
Not many. Yeah.
Three or four cats out there drinking a pop. Everybody that came to see Paul saw him lose and left. And that's the damage boxing is taking with this YouTube stars. This is the damage. When promoters say it's bringing new eyes to boxing, no, it's bringing you an extra $100 bill per person. So you're seeing the money as a promoter, but you're not seeing the damage to the sport. That's the one that puts the money in your pocket. And how often can you put a YouTuber that's going to bring millions into your pocket as a promoter? Not often. So no, you're not bringing new eyes to the sport, because at the end of the day, they're there to see their YouTube star in the same fashion that their YouTube star might come up with a video of them playing bowling. That doesn't mean now bowling is famous because they're bringing new eyes to the sport. Dart through the zone. No, they're coming to see their star. You know, that's it.
Like I'm a dart. I'm gonna go to England, bro. Like I'm pretty good at darts.
Hey, Tyson's a beast though on darts.
You know, I would pay to see Logan Paul versus Clarissa Shields. I'd pay $100 for that one. Either, because whoever loses, I'll be happy.
Hey, that's a good one though. That's a good one.
Yeah. Shit, she might win that one actually, but that's a different story. Anyways, guys, one more topic: the young guard. And we're hearing fans out here like, don't, in my opinion, there's a lot of you guys out here, man. I got to be honest. Like, you just don't get it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But let me just lay it out for you guys, man. Let me just be 100% honest. Like, a lot of you just don't get it. Like, it's not up to us to decide if a fight is ready to win or all that. Okay. Now we need to be reasonable. Like, the guy doesn't throw professional, just throw him in there with the wolves, obviously, okay? But so there's a process. But once a fighter, once he's a contender, and it's time for him to get his title shot, then it's time. That's it. And he might win, he might lose. We don't know. That's why we watch. That's the whole point. To watch a reigning champion fight a young, hungry contender. That's the whole point of the sport. Not all the young contenders win. That's what makes the ones that do win special. That's what made Ali beating Liston special. That's what made Salvador Sanchez beating Little Red Lopez special. There was something special about that, right? So Virgil Ortiz wants to fight Crawford. Well, I don't know if he's ready. How do you know? Let's do the fight. You may pick Crawford to win. That might be your prediction. And Crawford may very well win. But Ortiz has earned a shot. And it's time for him to get it. Right? Nobody thought young Cassius Clay, who later became Muhammad Ali, was going to beat Liston. He was a 7-1 underdog. Nobody thought he was going to win. We don't know what these kids are capable of until you put them on the bright lights, you give them the opportunity, and either they succeed or they don't. That's it. Conor Benn told Eddie Hearn to his face, I want to step up. I want to fight somebody that's going to fight back. Okay, I want a challenge. Give me Amir Khan. I don't even think he's a challenge, but give me him. Right? He's ready to step up. Eddie Hearn's right there all smug, like, well, I mean, I don't know if he's ready. That's a hell of a step up. Like, well, it's time. He wants to step up. All right? If Virgil wants to fight Crawford, do it. If Boots called out the winner of Spence Ugas and he said, I want that fight.
Let him have it.
He wants to fight. No, but he's so young. I think he should wait another 2-3 years. And then what? And then his moment for greatness is gone because Spence moved up or somebody else beat him?
Yep.
What are you guys saying? If you wait too long, then the champions become too old. There's times to make the fights, all right? The time for everything under the sun, right? Chief Funky, talk to us. Are these guys ready, in your opinion, and what's your overall thoughts on this?
I mean, I think that they think they're ready, no doubt about it. And, you know, who am I to say that they're not, you know? I just think that, you know, these guys probably won't fight them, you know? And I said this right after Boots won on Saturday. I said that if guys like Crawford and Spence, who are the guys at the top of the division right now at welterweight, if they want to get a guy like Ortiz or Boots Ennis, they better do it now, because these young dudes, they're coming, and they're coming quick. You better not be trying to wait out like you're trying to do with Spence and Crawford, trying to wait each other out or whatever it is they're doing. They're bullshitting around, sugarfooting around, you know. You better not do that with these young dudes, because these young guys are going to come. They're going to take your damn head off, man. And I'll be rooting for them if it happens. Do I think they beat those guys at this point right now? I would probably favor Spence and Crawford right now. But like I said, if they wait any longer, it's going to be over for them, man. You guys know that I've been trying to, you know, push for super fights and things like that this year. And I think that there's a few that could happen at welterweight. And I want them to happen at welterweight, because welterweight is one of the original weight classes in boxing. And it's looking pathetic at this point. Absolutely pathetic. We've heard this crying back and forth about money. Who deserves this? Who deserves that? And these guys are going right along with it. And these guys aren't major stars. That's the thing that really fucks with me, is that Spence and Crawford, they're acting like they're Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. When these guys don't sell tickets like that, they don't sell pay-per-views like those guys. Those guys were doing like 1 million buys almost every time, or close to 1 million buys on pay-per-view. These guys haven't come close to that, not even close, and they're acting like this. So now, as far as what you said, D-Style, about some of the young guys getting in there and getting their shot early and then winning, like, yeah, it does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen very often, though, which is why I'm really not a big fan of it. But
well, I
don't put up
it's not for everybody, G Funky. That's my point. Not everyone gets to do it, is my point.
Yeah, and I'm not going to put up a roadblock. You know, like some people say, putting up roadblocks. They make any fight, I'm down for it. I'm not going to be like, I don't want to see this fight. You know, I'll watch them all. But yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it, man. If they want to get them, they better get them now, because it's going to be too late real soon, you know?
All right. Raw, what do you think? Too soon? Should they get their shot now? They want their shot. They want to step up?
Tyson was 20 years of age when he became a world champ. Just like Tyson, there were many champs that became champs at a very young age. A young man has the confidence and a body full of testosterone, especially they have skills to put themselves against such test. When you see a fighter telling you, I'm learning nothing from this fight, you must believe that. That is a very honest fighter. When a fighter's telling you, I'm learning nothing. When a fighter's telling you, I want Crawford. And you see this fighters fight, and you see they're not bluffing. They got skills, right? They got skills, because it doesn't take 30 fights for you to tell when somebody has skills or not. It just doesn't. When you have it, people can see it when they know, when you're too obvious on it. Jerome Boots Ennis has skills. Am I saying he's going to beat Crawford or Spence? No. Am I saying they're going to lose? Good chance, but we also never know, right? And I will repeat this again, and I will repeat this until I'm either proven correctly or wrong, whether people praise me or, torch me. People are sleeping on Virgil Ortiz, thinking he's nothing but a hammer brawler. People are sleeping on this kid. This kid is a Morales, in my opinion, in the same way people thought Morales was just a Brandon Rios. No, man. When I hear Virgil Ortiz saying, look, I don't know if I'm ready, but I want him. Let him have it. When I see Virgil Ortiz, I see a fighter that knows he's got power. But not only does he have power, he knows how to implement that power with timing, by controlling the pace of the fight, by taking the fight to his opponent, by keeping the fight at a mid-range, by actually working in conjunction with whatever he's being given, and also timing his opponent within the timing. What does that mean? That means I'm going to risk myself at barely taking a shot just so that I can land a good one, right? When you remember the interview I had with Ismael Salas when we went into that argument, or that dialogue about timing within timing, or timing, kind of like dancing with your opponent. Ortiz is the kind of guy that's like, just before you land on me, I want to be the one flushly landing on you. When people see Ortiz, they look at a brawler. When I see Ortiz, I see a very smart power puncher with very decent boxing skills behind it. And if he thinks he's ready, let him have it.
That's right. I mean, what's like here's the problem, right? What's the worst that could happen? He loses, right? Let's say he loses to Crawford, right?
Okay. Now watch this.
Yeah. Right.
When Canelo fought Mayweather, how realistic was Canelo on beating Mayweather? Not really. But who is Canelo today? Do we think that Canelo actually learned something out of that fight? Oh, but you know what it is, though? It's those that want to criticize the fighters. But then when the fighters want to test, well, he's boring. He's not ready. He's just a kid. Why would he fight Crawford? Well, if he ain't all that, let Crawford smash him out of there. After all, who else is Crawford going to fight in that division? Nobody else. He's still waiting around on Pacquiao. He told us that the fight with Spence is history. That's not even going to happen. We got an opponent that's a very young fighter that's got 17 victories, knockouts, that at least is giving us some excitement. Let him have it. Right? What's the problem? You as a Crawford fan, what are you afraid of? Why are you so afraid of this so young, not ready, boring, nothing kind of fighter? If anything, I'll be like, man, let him have it. Let me
tell you this. Virgil has a better shot than Mean Machine did. He has a better shot than a one-legged, Benavidez, Jose Benavidez. He has a better shot than anybody, than even
Jeff Horn, yeah.
He has a better shot than all those. I think he has a better shot than Pacquiao.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm honest. It's a better shot.
Because we don't know what Pacquiao's going to bring.
He loses. Okay. Hearn lost to Leonard. It wasn't the end. It's losing is not the end of the road, guys. It's not like a sudden death. Like you're just gonna they don't die when they lose, right? It's if they lose, then they go just like what did Hopkins do? Did he retire after he lost his first pro fight? No. He just went back and had another fight. Marquez lost early in his career. Salvador Sanchez had a loss early in his career. It happens. I don't know what people are fearing like these losses. And let me just say another thing. If they lose a fight and they fall apart, they're not the same anymore, then they weren't made for this shit. If that's what happens. If they lose a fight and they're done, then they were never made for it. It wasn't in them to be that. Like, I believe in destiny like that. That's my opinion. But Chicano, talk to us about these young guns. Should they get their title shot? How do you feel about it?
Man, I'm glad that these young guns are here. It's a boost for the welterweight division. You guys are making a lot of good points. At this age, we're all around the same age. We've seen just in our adult lifetime, a lot of young 22, 20-year-olds step up and take on challenges. And there's something about a young, early 20s dude who doesn't know he can lose. There's sometimes where fighters are slowed down, where they're doing 8-rounders against people maybe they should outclass. But then there's those other young 20s fighters who are ready to get in there, who are hungry, who are ready to dominate. Like I think of people like even a young Munguia or Fernando Vargas, just that kind of attitude that some of these people like Virgil Ortiz and Ennis could bring into the ring. And I agree. I think that those two could possibly shape up very well against a lot of these top 10 welterweights. I already have these dudes in the top 10. So I think there's a lot of greats out there that start at a very young age. And it's like you say, D-Style, it's not up to us to kind of hold them back. Like if they think they're ready, let's see what happens, man. On top of that, too, it's a great benefit that these boxers are here because they might end up having Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight each other to freeze out this younger generation for a little while. You see Ennis and you see Ortiz call out these fighters, and you hear these champions saying things that they heard when they were calling out champions, like, oh, you're not ready yet, or you need to get a belt, or things like this. When you start hearing stuff like that, it's sad to see when we followed these fighters when they were younger, these champions start saying the same things to prospects or to young people who are becoming contenders when they were trying to do it. So to me, it's kind of sad to see, but it's a benefit. Now I understand why older boxing fans have a lot of perspective about things like this, because you're starting to see the hypocrisy of champions who've made it. When they were hungry, they wanted a shot. They didn't necessarily get it right away, and now they're using these same excuses to stifle the progress of these younger fighters who probably deserve the fight.
Well said. Well said. I just have one more thing I wanted to touch on in regards to this, and it's this. Okay, just something I want to say, and if you guys want to add anything, you can. But let me just say this. Let me just tell you guys something. Boots Ennis, Connor Benn, all right, and Virgil Ortiz, these guys right here, all right? No, they shouldn't fight each other right now. You're fucking out of your mind. Have you guys lost your fucking minds? Have you lost your mind? So they should fight each other, right? Beat each other up and all that, right? And soften each other up for who? For these fucking champions that are fighting each other? So they ain't gonna do shit. You're the champion. You guys are the champs. You take on all the comers, all right? How about Crawford? You fight one of those dudes, and Spence, you fight one of these dudes, and then we'll talk. Because this is some bullshit. I see way too many people out here pushing. Oh, Boots Ennis and Ortiz has to happen now. Like why? For what?
Setting up a narrative. That's all that is.
That's a bunch of bullshit, man. Let me tell you something. If boxing functioned this way, if Crawford and Spence fought each other and they unified, and you had one undisputed champion, right? And now you can make the argument, hey, there's a line, guys. There's a lot of guys that want to get their shot, so you got to fight for it, right? That'll be one thing. But that's not what's happening. We're living in the age of the streets. You're on this side of the street, and you're on that side of the tracks, and you're over here. Okay, fine. Crawford, fight Ortiz, right? Why not? I mean, if he fought fucking Mean Machine, give me a fucking break, right? Spence, Ugas, hey, that's a good fight, in my opinion. It is. But the winner, hey, that dude to the far left, he wants to see you. He called you out.
Yep.
So how about y'all? How about you guys? How about the champion? How about you fight these young guns? All right? How about that? It's time for you guys to do it. This whole idea that these guys got to fight each other, like it doesn't even make sense. Like Ortiz and his fight. Now, would I watch it? Of course I would watch it. You know what I mean? Would it be a good fight? I do believe it will be a really good fight, and a lot tougher than a lot of you and his fanboys out there believe. Let me just put that out there right now. I'm going to put that out there right now. All right? Right now, I'm going to put that out there. You're sleeping on Ortiz, but I like that. Sleep on Ortiz, right? But if you guys have anything you want to add about these guys fighting each other, and one last question for each one of you.
Well, look, if I may, real quick, because I don't want to forget this thought. Can you imagine when this fighters fighting each other and destroying each other right now? If you're truly a boxing fan and you love the sport, have you actually stopped to think about the damage that the sport will take by losing one of these young talents right now because they're destroying each other? I would like to see them continue to get big. I would like to see them fight the champions, because at least if they fight the champions, then there's the argument, well, he did fought the champ, the dominant guy. So now but if he loses against just another top contender, fans are going to be like, well, he lost to a dude that wasn't even the number one in the division. So no, I don't want to see these guys taking their heads off right now. I want to see them testing themselves against tougher opposition, which might seem a bit contradictory, but it isn't, because again, if you lose to Crawford, hey, I lost to Crawford. If Canelo loses to Mayweather, hey, I lost to Mayweather. You know what I mean? But look at the future after that, right? Their credibility will go down if they fight each other right now. Whoever loses, then the fans, the very fans that cheer you, they're the ones that's going to be like, man, you suck. You lost against a dude that was top 15. So stop talking, right? And that's what I don't want to see.
Hey, well said, man. And I think that answers that very well. Chief Funky, what do you make about these guys fighting each other right now? They got to fight now. You know what I mean? Well, while these dudes don't fight, like the champions don't fight each other, But these guys got to fight each other.
Right. It's nothing but a bullshit way to start up a fucking false narrative. That's all it is, man. And we know the reason why these guys say things like that. And, it's only coming from one side of the fence. That's the funny thing, I've seen a lot of videos of over this past weekend after Boots got his big victory over Lipinets about how he needs to fight Crawford or he needs to fight so-and-so Ortiz and all the other guys, but you never hear Spence mentioned. Like, that's the funny thing, like like what's wrong with Spence? Spence can't fight one of these guys, Spence doesn't have to fight Crawford, doesn't have to fight Ortiz, doesn't have to fight Boots, none of these guys. Like, it's just funny to me, man. But yeah, the whole thing that Boots and Ortiz needs to happen now, like, it's just all they're doing is setting up a narrative, man, because we know that shit ain't happening next. We all know that here. Those guys are not going to fight next. Like you just said, D-Style, we're living in the streets right now, the street era of boxing. They're on opposite side of the streets. The shit's not happening next, okay? All you're trying to do is set up some bullshit so that when these guys get a fight announced, or the guy who you don't like gets a fight announced, oh, he's ducking. He's a fucking pussy and all this other shit. That's all it is, man. Get the fuck out of here with that, man. I'm sick and tired of that. These guys are going to be the future of the division. They do not need to fight next. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicano, any thoughts you wanted to throw about that, brother?
Yeah, I just want to add to that these are all great points. And the other thing, too, is that, yeah, they shouldn't fight each other right now, but it won't be that long before we do start having these discussions. I already ranked both of them top 10. Once they get like a solid top 10 opponent and they knock them out or go through them, these guys are going to be in the conversation for every fight. So we don't even have to wait that long to see what comes of all this here at the welterweight division.
Well said. Well said. Let's go ahead, man. This is the 12th and final round. We're going to go ahead and close this one out, guys, with final thoughts. Raw Boxing TV. Tell everybody where they could find you and all that good stuff, brother.
Well, they can find me just that in any of the social media platform, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, no Facebook, here on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, Raw Boxing TV, you can find me there if you want, check me out. And if you like the content, subscribe, activate the notification, all that good stuff. And I don't put out content as based on a schedule, mainly because I travel for work and the days that are home are not always the same, but when I'm home, I do make time to come up with content, and why not? Check me out.
All right, absolutely. Hey, Chicano Prophet, talk to us, brother. Final thoughts, man, and all that good stuff.
I think this week that we've spent a lot of time making some good points about certain issues in boxing that are important to us, but I think this is also a very good year for boxing. This seems to be the year of Undisputed, so there's a lot of good stuff for us to look forward to. Also, I'll be making my Canelo Billy Joe Saunders prediction very soon. Looking forward to that on my small little channel if you want to come check it out. Also looking forward to G Funky's prediction of when he picks Canelo to beat Billy Joe Saunders. That's a spoiler alert. But hey, if anybody wants to pick against Canelo, right now's the time, man. If you don't like him, this would be a good one for you guys to pick. So think about it. You want to have another chance to pick against Canelo, at least seriously, for probably until May, in my opinion.
All right. All right. G Funky, give us some final thoughts, brother.
Yeah, man. Good show. I want to thank everybody that showed up in the chat. Everybody that's here, subscribe, Raw Boxing, Chicano Prophet. You should already be subscribed to D-Style, but if you're new, subscribe to D-Style and myself. Tomorrow night, we might be having a debate between Haplotype and Calix Boxing.
No, we will have a debate. Those motherfuckers better show up.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of these guys, trying to get set it up. So it's going to be who was better, Carl Froch or Joe Calzaghe. Should be pretty entertaining. And make sure that you guys are there, man. HCP Uncensored tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
For sure, man. I'm going to be watching.
All right, all right. Hey, this is D-Style Boxing. Make sure you guys keep it boxing. We're out of here.